Okay, so today's video is going to be a bit different from the kind of stuff that I normally do. Today we're going to be talking about used PCs, and I'm going to go on Facebook Marketplace, I'm going to find one, I'm going to buy it, we're going to go over it, we're going to talk about things to do with a used system, ways to protect yourself, things to consider, and then we're going to see whether or not I actually got a good deal. Spoiler alert, I already found one, and I already got it, so hopefully I didn't just poof money into thin air.
We interrupt this video to bring you a special message from iFixit. No, we interrupt this interruption with this interruption about new stuff from iFixit. Wish you had a new graphics card, but inventory sucks? Fix the inventory problems with iFixit. Whoa, don't drop it. Can't fix that with iFixit. Just kidding, yes you can. Wish you could take iFixit with you anywhere, but your pockets aren't big enough? Introducing the new More
and the new Minnow.
Take them with you anywhere. So get iFixit for your loved ones, or just get them for yourself.
So this is the one I actually found and got local to me. It says it's an Omen 30L gaming. I like how it's technically 30 liter or whatever. I think that's what the L stands for. But anyway, it's an Omen PC, which is actually the HP gaming brand. But one of the things I like about the Omen PCs, I've never looked at one in person. This will be my first time looking at one. But the fact that it uses like standard off-the-shelf parts, whereas some of the issues with like Alienware and Dell and some other gaming companies that are from part of like big companies like Dell and HP in the past, is they would have like proprietary motherboards or weird layouts and things that are not standard. So if you ever needed to fix or replace or upgrade something, you couldn't do it because it was just not off-the-shelf type parts. And that's what this particular Omen is. Now you'll see here it says sold. They had initially listed for $850. They put on here $750. Spoiler alert, I got it for $400. So I did one of those, like I threw out a low ball, they took it, we met up. I talked to them yesterday, met up today. We now have it, we'll be taking a look at it. Let's talk about the specs here. So it's an AMD Ryzen 5 5600G. So it's a AM4 board, which is using 5000 series Ryzen, which is new enough to be perfectly fine for pretty much any title. It's not a super like low-end CPU, like a 5400G or anything like that. The 5600s, even though it has an iGPU, still has plenty of performance when it comes to CPU. But we're not using the iGPU because it actually has an RTX 3060 in there. Here it is right here. You can see the RTX 3060. It might just be kind of a no-name, non-branded bulk sale that companies like HP and Dell and Alienware buy. So it may not even show like an MSI logo or whatever it may be, but it's still an RTX 3060. It's just a no-frills version, which is perfectly fine. Now I wanted to know whether or not that was actually going to be a decent deal. Because the other stuff we have in here, obviously it's RAM is a HyperX 16 gigabytes. I usually put XMP, but I don't put the speed. But anyway, it's 16 gigabytes of DDR4 in dual channel. They're RGB sticks. I can see that we have two channels. So that means we're not dealing with a single 16 gig stick, which in single channel would have really sucked. But again, when it comes to pricing, I wanted to see how we were doing here. So I went to Amazon and I put in the cheapest RTX 3060 I could find, which was $299. So as you can see, we're already, can I build the rest of the system for $100? The answer is no, because it also has a 1 terabyte SSD. Don't know if it's NVMe, I don't know if it's SATA, doesn't really matter at this point because the drive is something we're gonna talk about on used computers. But obviously we still have a power supply in here, we still have RAM, we still have the case, and we have storage. Because once I put in the 5600G, which is $137 on Prime on Amazon, my cart total is already at $437. So as you can see, for $400, I got a hell of a deal here. So one of the ways I got the deal was I actually started talking to them yesterday. Well, I messaged them yesterday on Marketplace Messenger, didn't get any responses, looked at a few other systems, was actually intending to drive into LA today to buy a different system, which is a little bit higher spec. Previous gen, it was like a 20, I think it had an RTX 2080 in there, which would have been a faster GPU than a 3060, but it had a much slower CPU at a 9700 non-K. So that's a 9th gen Intel, which it now definitely starts showing its age, especially without it being an overclocking CPU. They got back to me late last night. That's when I offered the 5 and they were like, okay. And then today I did the whole, oh, I found a better deal. Are you willing to take 4? And they were like, well, will you do that for just the tower? Because if we look at the listing, they also say here, comes with a Logitech LED keyboard and a Logitech G502 Hero mouse. So the mouse alone has some value. The G502 is a very popular mouse. And it has 32 gigabytes of DDR4 HyperX included, which is basically just 2 more sticks of the same RAM. I don't want to run 4 sticks of RAM. So I wanted to keep the price down. Here are the pictures of those peripherals that we didn't take, right? So there's the Logitech keyboard, there's the mouse. So by basically saying I don't care about getting the peripherals or the extra RAM, at $400, gave us an incredible deal. If they would have taken 500, even for the extra RAM, that wouldn't have been worth it, because I can get 16 gigabytes of RAM for less than $100. Now they would be mismatched kits, but I'd much rather have 2 sticks to give me 32 gigabytes, 2 16 gig sticks, rather than having 4 sticks, which I know gives us trouble when it comes to booting and running XMP or DOCP profiles when it comes to 4 sticks of RAM. Anyway, I already got it, already picked it up. It's over there in the test area. Let's go take a look at it. So here it is right here. You can see all the off-the-shelf stuff. It's a micro ATX board. It is an NVMe SSD, 1 terabyte right there. It's a Cooler Master 500 watt power supply. In fact, let me take the side off. This is the case, as you can see, plenty of ventilation, I guess. Ew, we had to do some cleaning. One of the things you have to deal with on a used system. I do happen to know they kept this system down near the carpet. So just based on the photos, it looks like this was an under-desk system. That's why that bottom fan looks so gross. So in terms of cooling, it's pulling in air through these vents on the side right here. And then I think we have an exhaust fan on the top and one on the back. Do we have one on the top? Nope, none on the top. It's actually fairly clean inside. I've never taken a look at an Omen PC. Smoker. Just thought I'd point that out real quick. We got some cleaning we gotta do. We have a proprietary plug of some sort right here. I don't know what this is for. That's there. So here's our RAM right here. So you can see it's our HyperX Fury, it's RGB, 3733, that's an interesting speed. I'm not gonna take anything out right now. I actually wanna make sure it works before we go cleaning it. The reason why I'm saying that is because if I go cleaning it and messing around with it and then something doesn't work, I don't know if I'm necessarily the one that caused the problem. Sometimes when people are really willing to be like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'll discount it nearly 50% over my initial asking price. That can sometimes be because they're hiding something or they just wanna quickly get rid of it, take whatever cash they can. Now I asked the guy, I said, so why are you upgrading? And he didn't recognize me, which was already a great sign for me. It really was. Because I don't want to have like, oh, you got a special deal because of who you are. The guy didn't know who I was. Anyway, he said he upgraded to a custom built. Makes sense. A lot of people buy an all-in-one like this. They get bitten by the bug and then they upgrade. It's not an uncommon story. So let me just plug everything in right here and make sure it works. I will not be plugging anything into the internet. Then we'll talk about safety when it comes to used PCs like this. Because the point here was to see, can I find a super deal as someone that has admittedly lost contact with reality a little bit because of being surrounded by this stuff. All right. Turned on, the Omen lights up, that's neat. As you can see, it's also a box cooler type style for HP Omen. It says Omen on it, but essentially it's the super basic like Wraith cooler. Oh, hey, we got an image, that's good. Windows is there. If their information's on there, take the drive out entirely, in my opinion. So just a moment. This might be a first time setup. If that is, that means he went in here and reset Windows, which should tell me we're dealing with someone already that knows a little bit more than the average person when it comes to selling a used computer. But I have an important piece of safety information. Even if Windows is installed and it looks like it's a first time setup, etc., I would personally not use the drive supplied with it for multiple reasons. One, NVMEs are cheap enough now to where you can find yourself, yeah, they did do the out of box experience, which you can use to set up the system. My major reason for saying this, you never know if there's keyloggers or something installed. I feel a little bit confident right now with this system, going ahead and going through the first time setup. I know what to look for when it comes to whether or not someone's put something on the system to try and spoof your information or keylog or whatever. You'd be surprised what people will do to try and steal identity. But I would never trust a system that boots right into Windows and is sitting at a desktop without you going through this user experience. You never know what's present. So that's why if it had Windows on there that went right to the desktop without this first time setup, I probably would have like gone the route of taking the drive out or doing a fresh install of Windows and formatting that drive from the start, just to make sure that nothing is on there that's nefarious. So you're gonna notice some extra steps on this anyway. If it was a pre-built system from like HP or Dell or Alienware or whatever, they have very specific Windows versions for them that allow them to do extra stuff like ping to register your device or whatever. The previous page to this one said, do I want to register with HP? It was optional, I said no. But now I can uncheck this HP stuff. This makes me feel a little bit more confident about this version of Windows because of the fact that means it's probably DRM to this motherboard. It also means if we go around changing any hardware, we probably will unregister our Windows, which means we'd have to buy a key. Now, fortunately, there's a lot of key, not generators. That sounds very like scammy. There's lots of websites out there where you can get like unused keys for like 20 bucks, right? They're legit keys and stuff. I've never worked with any of those brands. I know a lot of people highly believe in them. I know a lot of my own commenters have said, dude, you can get a Windows key for like 15 bucks. That's totally legit, etc. You can look into those options if you want to wipe the DRM version of Windows off of this. Anyway, we're doing updates right now. It's a completely different update window too. Normally when you see Windows updates happening on a new install, it happens in the background. But because this is designed to be like an out-of-box user experience for an OEM, like HP in this case, it's very in your face about what's happening. So now we have no choice but to just sort of sit here and wait while the system updates itself. But one thing I want to talk about real quick, I have a feeling this is not the original RAM that came with the system. I think he upgraded the RAM, only because it seems odd to me that everything in here is basic, like, in this case, black PCBs, but basically green PCB, no frills type of hardware that's supplied to companies like HP and Dell and stuff. But I have a feeling he added more RAM to this. It may have initially been an 8 gigabyte system or potentially a 16 gigabyte system of just boring RAM, and he wanted lighting or something, and so he put RGB lights in there. I find it hard to believe that HP would put RGB RAM in there and then just let it RGB like this. Now, it's very possible that that's actually the way it went down. I don't know that. I haven't searched what the current HP Omen systems and stuff look like, but that's what's in this one. What I'm happy about this, I've already said it multiple times and I'll say it again, it's a standard micro ATX layout. It's got the same 3, 6, 9 screw holes. I have a feeling though, this one is going to give us some pretty solid performance for the money. You gotta remember, yeah, it's a 5600G. Nothing really to write home about. It's a 3060. Easily one of the more popular GPUs that has replaced the 1060 as the popular GPU. Again, nothing super worth writing home about, but you can't really buy one for under 300 bucks new right now. So that makes this one hell of a deal. All right, enough talking. Let's just wait and see how long this is gonna take. All right, so all the updates are done. I've not blown out any of the dust or anything. So far, I just wanna see how things are identifying themselves, make sure the specs are what they're supposed to be. Okay, so it is a Ryzen 5600G as stated. GPU is an RTX 3060. And then our RAM, we have 16 gigabytes running at 3200 megahertz. So I think it feels like a pretty solid deal so far. Everything's what it said it's supposed to be. Oh, and then the disk is a 1 terabyte Western Digital. It's an SN530. A couple of things I would probably recommend too. Prior to buying a used system, try and see proof of it running. They posted pictures of it on. Like I said, it lit up. They didn't show a screen of it on. Even then, that picture could be faked. It could be something else, like a laptop plugged into a screen to look like it's on. But I saw it powered on. That was good enough for me. I was also personally willing to take the risk, but I always would promote like, hey, can you take a quick video of it on, like on your cell phone or something, and like have a piece of paper with your name on it or something, the name of whoever the sales post is, so you can see it's real and on and running. Most of the posts I found did include videos on their postings of the system on. This one did not, however, but it seemed too good to be true. At the original 750, actually they originally wanted 850 and then 750. It would not have been a good deal. I could have built the system with brand new parts, probably for cheaper than that. But now, as you saw what I got it for, that would have been absolutely impossible. Our updates are done. Now I'm just gonna go through and make sure like my drivers are correct and all of that. I'm gonna blow out some of this dust, take the front glass off, which just has a screw right here on the bottom, blow out this dust and get as much of it off as I can. Then we'll take a look at how the temperatures are and stuff like that. I guess at that point, we'll just play a game or two on here and see how it does. All right, so I'm taking up the GPU mount here real quick. It has the world's biggest GPU mount for a world's smallest GPU. But as you can see, it does have this mount. It screws into one of the motherboard, you see right there, one of the motherboard slots and then one of the case slot holes, and then 2 locator pins. And then the GPU can just slide along that based on it being a bigger or smaller GPU. That's nice to see. Otherwise you get this wobble, which might have a problem with surviving transit. But I want to take the GPU out right now because I want to see what it looks like. Yeah, look at that, just a little basic 3060. You can definitely tell it was a smoker's house though, because all the fans are coated in brown. So dirt tends to fly off, tar smoke tends to get sticky, which is why the dust is sticking to it. So looking on eBay, there's one of these cards for $185, but here's one for $400. Here's one for $888. New open box. Wait, that's contradictory. $339, $370, $400. What? You could put literally any 3060 in here. So like, basically I paid for just this then and got all that for free. If we take that into consideration, we should not. That pricing is absolutely ridiculous. You can buy a used 3060 and put it in here. You could upgrade to a 4060 and put it in here if you wanted. You have to use an adapter, and 500 watt power supply would be plenty, but you'd have to use the adapter still. Anyway, here's the other M.2 cover right here, which that GPU support sort of covers. We can put another 5502 drive in here if we wanted, which is just the full length right there. This is also built-in wireless, and then they have the antenna, which is a mini SATA slot, and then it has the antennas run up here to the corners of the case. Right here, you can actually see it. There they are, one there, one there. You got the little directors on there. Kind of neat, actually. All right, let me put this back together. Let's start doing some gaming and some benchmarking on it. I don't know, I just wanted to activate the DOCP or the 3733 for this. Save changes, cancel. There we go. So here's our main menu. It looks so weird. Where's it show our memory speed at? Configuration. Language, virtualization. It's very basic for obvious reasons. We may not even be able to. No, we don't have any access to anything. Yeah, it's possible he upgraded the RAM like I thought, because I would really kind of find it hard that HP Omen would put 3733 megahertz RAM in this and then not have a way to enable it. So one of the things I'm doing too, because it's a pre-built, especially from a big company like HP, is uninstalling McAfee, because McAfee is pre-installed in here. So I'm using Revo Uninstaller to make sure that we get all traces of McAfee out of here. I did a whole video about that. In typical fashion, after I did the video, there were so many downloads that took away the free version. It's back up now. So if you waited, you can go back and get it now. I'm not gonna put a link, I always forget, but I think the title was something like, everyone needs this free piece of software, and I uploaded it like 8 videos ago or something like that. So just look at my history and you'll see it. You can use this. It definitely makes life easy when it comes to getting rid of bloatware. Okay, systems updated, drivers are updated, bloatware is removed, Defender is turned off. We can now get ourselves a pretty good idea of where this computer's CPU is landing. So what we're looking for, according to Tech Power Up, I don't know what kind of cooler they were using on this, but anyway, a 5600G should be landing around 10,800. So let's see what we've got. What we got right here. Anyway, I'm looking for temps right here on the package. What's it gonna shoot up to initially? 65, 67, 68, 69, 70, 72, 73, 74, not bad. We're boosting up to 4.1 gigahertz on all cores. That's about right for the 5000 series. We're so used to seeing 5,000 megahertz on everything these days that 4,000 seems wrong, but that's correct. It's about 4.1 gigahertz for the CPU. And if it lands anywhere near 10,800, anywhere in the 10,000 range, I'll be happy, to be honest. But is it a bitty cooler? I don't know, maybe. This is where that $17 cooler might come in handy. It's unfortunately, this case doesn't allow you access on the backside to be able to get to the backside of the motherboard for a bracket. So to install that cooler, I'd have to take everything out, which is the downside of that. So that's why I'm not doing it. Otherwise, I might have thrown it on here already and been like, I got such a deal on the tower, I might as well put a better cooler on here just for longevity and whatnot. But I think it's such a low watt part, it's like 80 something watts, that this cooler should be just fine. 10,093. Okay, so it's about 800 points or so shy from where, like, probably with a better motherboard and a better cooler and everything on it, where it should land. I think that's actually not so bad. I think that is within enough margin of error to say, okay, it's performing where it should. Probably could use some better thermal paste, more than likely, than what it might be using whatever's pre-applied on those cooler blocks, which are like the screen printed thermal paste. Better paste might help, but this tells me it's running and boosting frequency-wise to where it should. I'm gonna install Helldivers. I know Helldivers is not an incredibly demanding game. This is a perfect example of someone that maybe doesn't have a console, but they've heard all of the hype about Helldivers. They wanna get a PC, they wanna play it. This thing was such a deal. If we can play it at all at a reasonable frame rate and maintain 60 FPS plus, I will be 100% happy. So let's see what we got. So you can see right there, 63 on the GPU at 98% usage, 62 on the CPU at 31% usage. So that's why we're gonna see that 4.3 gigahertz fluctuate all over the place. Oh, it's already at 1440. I would go to 1080 for this, honestly. There we go. Now 98 FPS in 1080p. Graphics, texture quality, everything's on high, look at that, except for medium on object detail. So right now while it's loading in the drop, the FPS is all over the place because the CPU right now, look at the CPU temp, 84, 92, 95. The CPU right now is like, oh, it's like, it's literally doing that, trying to load the world. There we go. See, look, now we're fine. CPU's like, look at this, 78 FPS, 77, 79. Remember, we're still on high settings with a couple of things at medium. This PC is very capable of spreading democracy. We are staying pretty well on our FPS here. Look at this, 70s and 80s. I'll freaking take it. Anyway, I'm gonna get on out of here, guys. I think we've already established right now that this computer was one hell of a buy at 400 bucks. And the moral of this video is that the deals are out there. You just have to look for them. I was a little discouraged because I spent days, actually most of this week, looking for deals, and I wasn't finding anything because initially this was a terrible deal. The first price they wanted was 850 bucks, and at some point they had lowered the price to 750. And even at 750 with those peripherals, that would not have been a good deal for this system at all. I could have bought it, built it new, and had some money left over. But as soon as they were willing to even at 500 bucks, this would have still been an amazing deal. Because I was at $437 in my Amazon cart with just the GPU and the CPU. No motherboard, no memory, no power supply, no storage, and no case. There's no way I could have come anywhere near building this system for 500 bucks. And it's in pretty damn good shape. Now, that doesn't mean everyone's gonna find this kind of a deal, but it does mean that they do exist out there. And because I live in the greater LA area, there's lots of opportunity here in terms of lots of people selling stuff. A couple of things that we could do, like without even having to upgrade our power supply, we could go from a 3060 to a 3070 or 3070 Ti. Sell this thing probably for 200 bucks, no problem, just like that, based on how much 3060s are still going for, and be able to pick up a 3070 for 400 bucks. So a $200 upgrade puts us at $600 all in, didn't have to change anything, would have a 3070 in here. So it's pretty, actually I think you can get a 3070 used in the $350-ish range. So, and that's before you even had to touch the power supply. We could still put a better CPU in here if we needed to. This motherboard would support up to like a 5800X, no problem. We might have to upgrade the power supply at that point because it has a 4-pin plugged into the 8-pin EPS. I don't know if this power supply has a second 4-pin. Yeah, oftentimes they're split in half. That might just be the way that HP powered it or built it. But if it has the other 4-pin, that's perfect. We could get away with this 500 watt Cooler Master 80 plus power supply easily up to like a 5800 and like a 3070 and still be able to call it a day. We'd be at the limit of our power supply. We still have plenty of RAM. 16 gigabytes of this DDR4 RAM is perfectly fine. And a 1 terabyte NVMe. Very little we'd have to touch in this. The only thing you'd have to be mindful of is one, there's no fans available at the top. So you start putting too hot of a component in here, then you're gonna start having a problem with heat exchange because we only have a 92 millimeter exhaust fan and a 120 millimeter intake fan. Nothing says a Dremel can't fix the top if you wanted to add a 120 up there. The other thing too is because it's a fairly narrow case, you'd be limited on the amount of room you have to add a tower cooler. So you might have to go with a low profile cooler from like Noctua or Be Quiet or something like that to get a better cooler in here for something like a 5800. But a 5800X with like the Wraith cooler would definitely fit in here, it'd be better than that. And even that like $16 cooler I did a review on has a 200 watt TDP capability and would still fit in this case without any sort of a problem, allowing us to put a bigger CPU in here and keep it cool. And then having that 120 millimeter fan pointing towards the back at least would help with some directional airflow. But putting an AIO in here would be extremely difficult, again, because we only have a 92 millimeter fan on the back, and then we have the 120 millimeter fan over here in the front. But because we have drive cages right here for expandability, we wouldn't be able to really put an AIO in here. So this is kind of relegated to being an air-cooled chassis now from now on. For 400 bucks, man, it's sure as hell hard to argue with that. Now I gotta find someone I know that needs a computer for some reason, because I have no need for it. I just wanted to make this video using it. So, all right guys, thanks for watching. If you found an amazing used PC deal, put your story down below so people can kind of get inspired to go and look. This was a Facebook marketplace. Obviously there's Craigslist, there's Facebook, there's OfferUp, there's all kinds of places you can find stuff. So happy hunting, if you will. It was kind of fun looking for this. I was getting discouraged, but I'm glad I found something that ended up being a good deal because I lowballed them and they took it.